Welcome to the first ever Conejo Valley Visionaries live event. I thank you all for being here. We also have, I think it's live streaming onto YouTube, so welcome to everybody who's watching from there. And this is, like I said, the first ever live event. It is in celebration of Women's History Month. We are here to celebrate female founders, female businesses, just women overall in the Conejo Valley. And I am so glad that you all are here. And I am your host, Cristina Dennstedt. If you are not familiar, I say that every time on every podcast episode, and I just wanted to share a little bit about myself and the podcast before we get started. So I have been in the Conejo Valley for 4 years. I was in LA before that and New York City before that, but I did go to college at USC. I am the mom of incredible 6-year-old boy-girl twins. And last year, I lost my job to relocation. I had always been in Thousand Oaks for a job that had their headquarters here, and they moved their offices, so I lost my job. And I share that because it then sort of kick-started this thinking about my childhood dreams. And I will give a big shout out to Marisa Meyer, who is here, and she is also was a guest on the podcast. She's my therapist, and she I don't know if I want to share that, but I can say she was pretty critical in encouraging me to revisit some childhood dreams that I had, which included my desire to be Katie Couric on the Today Show. And I studied broadcast journalism in college and ended up pursuing PR instead. And decided at that kind of critical juncture a couple things. One, I wanted to revisit that broadcast journalism dream. Two, I love podcasts. I'm a huge fan of How I Built This and Second Life and all those types of podcasts. And three, I was sort of in the suburbs, and you'll hear me say this, I was a snob about it, like, oh, I was in the city and now here I'm in the suburbs, but I wanted to connect deeper with the community. And so all those things came together, and I started the podcast, and it has been an adventure. The first episode aired on February 1st, 2024, so we're just about a year in, and I can't believe we have a first live event. So thank you to everybody who is here and making that part of it. Also, quick shout out to Emily Elizabeth Photography. If you ever need headshots, she is amazing. She is local, and she made the whole thing pretty painless. So as I mentioned, the podcast, if you're not familiar, because I think that maybe a lot of you just found me through Instagram, but the podcast is called Conejo Valley Visionaries, and it's a weekly podcast every Thursday where we spotlight the founders, the stories behind your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. It is really about celebrating community, and here, raise your hand if you've been to any of these businesses, if you know the faces behind here. We have kind of had the who's who of the local businesses on the podcast over the past 3 seasons, and I am so grateful for every one of them for saying yes and sharing their story on the podcast. If you have not listened yet, please go like and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram at Conejo Valley Visionaries, and from there it'll link out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, where you can listen or watch all 3 seasons. We just had an exciting episode aired this Thursday with the Deputy City Manager of Thousand Oaks, Akbar Ali Khan, and he talks a lot about the downtown project that they're working on. So if you're not familiar, that's a great one to deep dive and see where they're at with that project. Okay, so enough about me. I wanted to share a ton of gratitude for the partners who helped bring this event to life. So you all are sitting in Hub 101. Raise your hand, how many people knew about the space before the invitation? Okay, a couple, more than I expected. So I learned about Hub 101 through the Dean of the School of Business at Cal Lutheran University, Dean Gerhard Apfeltaller, and he was on the podcast. He's got a really fun story, but he shared with me about Hub 101. And it's a co-working space available not only to students of CLU, but also anybody who's looking to find a co-working space. If you're a startup and trying to connect with other people starting up, this is the place to do it. You received on your seats a day pass. I highly recommend you take advantage of it and just give it a try. So thank you to CLU and Hub 101 for hosting us here. Also, a huge shout out to Jenna Davis. I don't know where she is right now. She's sitting over there. Jenna Davis is a Jenna Davis creative. She helped with the styling. She's going to be running the craft. She's incredible. Go give her a follow if you love all things aesthetically pleasing. And if you have, she's an event stylist. So if you have any events coming up, please think about working with her. You had treats today from V County events, Jonah and Zyra, who are outside. They have 2 food carts, nudie bowls and ricey bowls delicious. You can follow them to find out where they're popping up. Mixed Up Baking. Unfortunately, Heather couldn't be here, but she is the baker behind all the cookies and muffins that you'll find around. They're vegan and allergen friendly, and she was also a previous guest. Then we've got drinks from 507, woo woo, we'll talk to Amber soon. And then Charmlee is actually a woman-owned Conejo Valley based non-alcoholic drink. They were generous enough to donate these, their calm version of the drink. And I had asked the Instagram community for recommendations on a brand that fit all those three things, and Charmlee was highly recommended, so I hope you enjoy those. And then lastly, I'd love to say thank you to Andrea DeSantis. He is filming, shooting the event tonight, and he works with Made in Italy Bistro. I met him through Basta. He's an amazing photographer, content creator, so if you ever need anybody in that realm, he's your guy. And then lastly, a big shout out to Goody and Yoko, who are sitting in the back. Goody was not formally meant to help with this event, but she stepped in and came and helped me with some setup today, and her daughter kindly was one checking you guys in. If you have not checked in, by the way, please, by the end of the event, do you mind just going and inviting her, and so I make sure we get a full head count of how many people were here. That'd be great. Okay, I accidentally hit this, but it is time to set the vibes with, I call her a friend, my yogi master, Marisa Meyer. She is somebody who I found through Westlake Yoga Co. Shout out to Tyler over there. He was on the second season of the podcast, and Marisa kicks my butt every week in hot yoga. She is incredible, but she is also very mindful and has a great meditation practice. And I've shared on the podcast in a couple different episodes how important meditation has been to me over the past several years, and also to several founders how critical it is to them sort of centering themselves and being able to find more of their vision and direction in their lives. So with a warm welcome to Marisa for coming up and giving us a little grounding meditation before we get started. Let me actually take this mic.
Okay, let me make sure that.
Here. Let's see.
If not, I can just use one of those. No big deal.
Okay, yeah, maybe we'll just do that.
Just do that. Oh, I can just use one of these.
Yeah.
No worries. All right. Let me turn this on. Hello. Testing.
No.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay.
Testing. There we go. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm super excited and super honored to be here with you guys tonight. Oh, hi. Oh my God. Good to see you. And I love seeing familiar faces. So many people that have taken my classes or that I know from the community. So that makes my heart really happy. So I'm Marisa, and I'm a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, fitness teacher, top bar. I was a dancer. And something about meditation, it's not necessarily a movement practice. Actually, traditional meditation, it's a seated practice where you're sitting on the ground, cross-legged, which I'm not going to make you guys do that tonight because that would be really awkward. But I am going to suggest if you want to take your shoes off, because this will be a grounding meditation. You don't have to if you're grossed out by the ground, but I'm going to.
There you go.
Since it's a summer day today, a lot of us have flip-flops on. Yeah, perfect. So if you want, you don't have to take your shoes off, but we do need to somehow be connected to the ground. Yeah, and then we can all wash our feet when we go before bed. So this is going to be a grounding meditation, and really the purpose of this for tonight is just to kind of let us come into this space, give ourselves a couple moments for ourselves. Something else about meditation, it's really accessible because you only need maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes if you have it. You don't have to go and take a full hour-long yoga class if you don't have the time for that. And I know probably a lot of people in here are busy working moms, like myself, so we need that time, right, for ourselves. So important. So I encourage you to kind of lean into this tonight. And before we begin, anyone has never meditated before, or let's do this, who has meditated before? Okay, almost everyone. Okay, I love that. I love to see that. So all you have to do is listen to my voice, close your eyes, and just relax. There's nothing right or wrong. So don't judge yourself, okay? So when you're ready, if your feet are on the ground, that's awesome. And then I want you to close your eyes and begin to sit up nice and tall. So try not to lean back in your chair. Maybe scooch forward a little bit. just close your eyes. And try not to squeeze your eyes too tightly, just soften the gaze. As you sit up nice and tall, find the length through your spine, but relax through your shoulders. With your eyes closed, maybe you notice that you see perhaps colors. See if you can draw your closed eyes gaze towards your eyebrows, the center of your eyebrows, or towards your third eye center. And then take a big exhale out of your mouth. Yeah, keep your eyes closed. Just begin to breathe. So a big part of this practice is breathing. So starting to breathe gently and quietly in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth, keeping your eyes closed. And with every inhale breath, imagine the energy lifting, lengthening your spine, growing tall through the crown of your head. And every exhale breath, releasing all your weight into the chair below you, your feet into the ground. Just continue with this breath, in through your nose to lengthen through your spine, and out through your mouth to ground. Feel rooted, supported. Feel a lightness as you inhale, and feel grounded as you exhale. Continue to breathe here on your own for a few moments, noticing the balance between the grounding exhale and the lifting inhale. And as you continue to breathe, bring a bit more attention now to the exhale breath. And allow each exhale to become a bit slower, longer. Gently, comfortably, no need to try too hard. There's no need to be perfect here. Just deepening the inhales to lengthen. Slower, longer exhales to ground. Begin to notice the points of your body that are connected to the ground or to the chair. Maybe you list them in your mind. Your feet, your hips, your back. And imagine these points of connection releasing down into the earth and expanding a tiny bit, kind of like how water slowly spreads as it spills. You ever feel that you're melting too much? Return to the lightness of your inhale breath. And as you breathe, just become a bit more aware of how your body and how your breath connects you to the ground, to the earth. Anytime you notice your mind wandering, chasing a thought, spend no time wondering why. Spend no time wondering what. Spend no time judging the thought. Simply bring your mind back to your breath, back to your body. Inhales to lengthen, exhales to ground, and perhaps become curious about your body. Do you feel heavy or light? Do you feel still or in motion? Do you feel solid or fluid? Completely curious about how your body feels. And notice the stillness, the stability as you are touching the earth below you, solid, grounded. And remember that when your mind wanders, it always will. Just bring your attention back to your body and back to your breath and your connection to the ground below you. Your body is a home base for your mind. So wherever your mind goes, your body will remain grounded. Take a couple moments here to continue to breathe. Deep inhales through your nose to lengthen, slow exhales through your mouth. And no rush. Before you open your eyes, eyes, just check back in one last time with the space in which your body meets the ground or the chair. And as you take a big breath in, notice your spine lengthen so tall the crown of your head extends to the sky. And a big exhale out to release. And again, take your time, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I hope everyone feels good and relaxed and grounded and ready. And nerves, maybe you're out. Thank you guys for having me.
That was excellent, Marisa. Thank you. So if you can find Marisa at Westlake Yoga Co. You can find her at actually Proactive Sports Performance now. You can find her online. She hosts retreats. And thank you so much for doing that. And if you have any questions about meditation or yoga, please feel free to reach out to Marisa. I'm so happy to share resources too that I have for that. So thank you. That was incredible. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And I loved the grounding part of it. I wasn't expecting that, and I love it. Okay, so now on to the main event. Let's meet our female founders. So welcome to the panel. We've got Amber of 507. We have extra mics somewhere. Did I take that video?
Oh, I gave it to him.
Oh, it's in here. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. We've got Brittany from Face and Soul Studios. We've got Emily from Proactive Sports Performance. And Gianna from Made in Italy Bistro. Hi, ladies. Thank you all so much for being here. Each of you have been on the podcast before, and I'm grateful that you agreed to that and are also here on the panel. And we will not totally replicate what happened in the podcast. If you haven't listened to them, please listen to those episodes. But we will talk about some other fun topics here. I'm sorry, this is killing me here. We have a special controller that's not working. But okay, so as we like to do on the podcast is always ask, what did you want to be when you grew up? Sort of inspired by the podcast, Second Life, and also just based on kind of my own desire to start the podcast was based on some childhood dreams. So I asked our beautiful ladies to provide us with a picture of themselves as a kid, the sillier the better, to kind of paint the picture for what it was like when they were kids. So, can you guess the founder? Oh my God. I feel like one very clearly stands out. Emily, your picture is like so you in the best way possible with that Westlake uniform on. Yeah. Anybody else want to call out you there?
I feel like I can tell who Gianna is.
Yeah, that's true. A big bowl of pasta. And then we've got Amber and Brittany over here. So thank you all for sharing that. You know, what I like to do is, what did you want to be when you grew up, and what did you end up studying in school?
No.
It's on now.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So I actually really wanted to be a high school math teacher. I loved math, and I loved leading, and I loved teaching, and I didn't end up going into that field, but I was thinking about that, and my day-to-day really is a lot of leading and teaching, and so that's kind of sweet. I love that.
What about you, Gianna?
It's on. Okay. From a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a chef. I loved Gianna from Food Network, and maybe it's kind of similar to my name, but I loved her.
Yeah.
And I always would just practice making things at home and have my parents test and see if they thought it was good or not. And I went to culinary school at the Conejo Valley. Since what I studied was food.
And for me as a kid, I always wanted to be a singer. I was always performing. I obviously don't do that now. And then as I got older, I actually wanted to go into, I wanted to be a buyer in fashion. So I went to FITM, and then the path kept leading me to beauty, and that's how I ended up going to beauty school and also getting my license. So I have a degree in merchandise marketing, thinking I was going to be a fashion buyer and travel the world, until I found out that they sat at desks and just did Excel all day.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, by the way. I wanted to go into. Is that
I know, I don't know if we all the little reverberations.
I studied sports journalism, and so I wanted to go into sports broadcasting and journalism, but I just ended up in a different path of sports. So I studied journalism.
Yes, I know. Those are like kindred spirit lives of that. Amazing. So at what point did you decide to start your own businesses, or where in that journey would you say, I guess we can start with you. Actually, maybe Emily, where did you decide, I want to, what was your path into Practice Sports Performance? And if you're not familiar, Practice is across the street, an incredible facility over there. So can you share a little bit about how you got into Practice?
I had absolutely no background in business, did not want to run a business, so I kind of had it thrust upon me, to be very honest. I was at a pivotal point. I was working on the Ellen Show in LA, and we had gotten married, my husband and I. He was running the business. We were in this kind of crux of, do I leave at 6 in the morning and have someone else raise my child with my salary, or do I kind of just step in and take over the business? So that's what happened. Our bookkeeper handed me Proactive in a box and said, good luck, and here we are today. So I had absolutely no plans, no background, no education in anything business.
And how long has it been?
We are going into year 19.
Wow,
I have been full-time for almost 15 years now.
And one of my favorite stories that you shared, if you don't mind, I'm going to reshare, is that it wasn't until recently when you got your own actual email address. So you were always sort of in this what level am I in this business? And it wasn't until you.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because being the husband and wife and really kind of not wanting to be a husband-wife business and wanting to kind of, make sure that we had a separation of church and state. And so it wasn't until 4 years ago when we moved into our new location, so I've been working for the business for 15 years, that I got my own email address. So I was not info anymore or office anymore. I got my own email address.
Oh yes, love that. What about you, Brittany? So you were on this path to fashion merchandising, but something was pulling you to beauty. I like you don't have to go through the whole thing, but I sort of love how you ended up in Thousand Oaks, and you were just like, next exit, like somebody was telling you to be further in, so.
It is very crazy to think back on my story and how I got here and how the stars, even moving into future directions right now and seeing how stars of people that I've connected with in my past have gotten me here. But my journey was truly I graduated FITM with this merchandise marketing degree, and I thought, I'm gonna take over the world. I'm gonna get a big girl job. I'm gonna have a salary. This is gonna be so exciting. And I had moved down from the Bay Area to LA to reach all these dreams, and it was not easy. It was very hard. It was a grind. It was a hustle. I could not get a job in fashion, and I kept getting these jobs in beauty or even at a hair salon. And at one point I was working for a beauty school. And after 5 years of being there, they offered me the opportunity to go to beauty school for free. And I wanted a raise. And instead they were like, we'll give you the school for free. And I'm like, I don't want to go to school. I already did that. But it was my husband that actually motivated me to do it. And I fell in love with it and thought, how am I going to make money waxing eyebrows? But I think I need to try to do this. So I started renting a room in a salon in Agora, and from there I was there 2 years, and I knew that I had to do my own thing. So after 2 years, I started looking for spaces, and I was what Cristina was referring to is I was very adamant. I was in Agora that I did not want to go more than 2 exits. I lived in the valley. I was like, I'm not going more than 2 exits from Canaan. And needless to say, I ended up all the way up Hampshire. But it was the second I saw the location, I was like, this is it. It was a small 800 square foot space. And we were in that space for 5 years, and then just expanded and grew my business May of 2024, and kind of reconcepted it into more of a salon suite business. And now to see that growing and thriving has been great. So it's been all these little jumps and, again, I don't know how I got here.
Yeah.
I just keep flowing and keep wanting and, here we are.
I love that. Living in the flow. Okay, Gianna, we knew you wanted to be in food, so you were the most direct linear path.
You really stuck to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. So kudos to that. So how did you end up deciding to open your own restaurant?
So I always liked the idea of having a restaurant, but it was never, I don't really feel like it was something I thought I was going to do for sure until I met Antonio, my partner in crime. He's also a chef, and so when we were dating, it was something that he was always like, we're going to have a restaurant, I want to open a restaurant. And I was kind of just like, yeah, it's going to happen maybe, but never really thought it was actually going to happen until he was like, one day he said, okay, I've worked on this business plan, what do you think of it? We found an investor, and he was like, you're going to do this with me, right? This was before we got married.
Oh.
And so I said, yes, let's do it. And here we are, 6 years later.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, pretty similar actually. I never really saw myself being a business owner until I met my partner Sean. And
also here.
also here, sitting next to Antonio. And he was going to school at CLU and he was in a business class. And this class had their students make a business plan. And his business plan was to open up, at that point it was just a smoothie shop. And he was like, do you want to do this with me? And I was like, we were dating 2 months. And I was like, yeah, sure, sounds great. And so we were 22 when that conversation happened, and then 23 when we signed our first lease.
Wow. That's amazing. But I think in your story too, if I understand correctly, and this still blows my mind, and you have to remember I am an outsider, I've only been here for 4 years, many of you probably know this better than I do, but the fact that there's a university, a large university here, and there was no coffee shop, local hang for students, so being able to witness that, and kudos to Sean for seeing that, and then you guys going into it, and then you open, we were just talking about this, you have to, your hours were until midnight when you first opened?
Yeah, so our hours when we very first opened were 5 a.m. to midnight, and that lasted for about a month. And we were like, no, how about 7:30 to midnight? Okay, that's so much better. And still till midnight. So we were to midnight up until COVID hit.
And that was because you were building, not to put words in your mouth, but building something that you wanted and saw the need for, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we were both born and raised in the area, and we just wanted somewhere to go. That just was, we were so young, so we didn't necessarily want a bar, but just kind of the Central Perk vibes from friends. And we wanted that, but in our hometown. And of course, there's Starbucks, and there was Denny's at the time, but it was that was just not it. Yeah. So we really just built a spot that we wanted.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of been a central theme in a lot of the people I've spoken to, and especially with you four, is that building something that you saw a need for, and building the kind of community you want in this area. And I love that, and I feel like only more of that can continue to happen. And congratulations to all of you expanding your businesses and being able to do that. What do you see as the vision for 507?
I love where we're at right now. Right now is
Two
great.
locations.
Two
Can you share
locations.
which we're
Yes.
not aware?
Yeah, so we have our first location, which is our coffee bar and eatery, and that's on Arbalest and Herbs right next to Vaughn's, and we've been there for a little over 7 years now. And we have our Teal Boulevard location, which is right next to Badass Tacos and Oak and Iron. Shout out to both of them.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And that was our coffee bar, so just coffee and pastries, and that's been really, really sweet. So that one's been open about 1.5 years-ish.
Okay. But your original vision was, if I remember, 100 locations, right?
Yeah, the
away.
business plan that was created at the CLU class was 30+ locations. And I'm just like, woo, two.
Yeah,
Two
we're
is
good
for now. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
nice. What about you, Gianna? What do you guys think of Made in Italy? I mean, I know we've talked about you desire maybe to expand and how to keep that community vibe. What are you thinking?
We would definitely love to open. We would definitely love to have a second location. And I was just telling the girls, we were just talking about this before this started, that we would like something a little bit bigger, not too big, because what everyone loves about our restaurant is the charm. And I think the charm is being small. And everyone says, you need to expand, you need to get a bigger restaurant, there's too long of a wait. But at the same time, that's what they love about the restaurant, So we would like another location that is a little bit bigger with a liquor license and maybe a different menu, some of our staples that everybody loves, but then there's so many other things that we can do that we want to show to the community. So that, and then also we've been expanding our catering business, and that's been very cool to see. And I think that that can only get bigger and better. And so those two things I think are our main priority right now.
And a baby on the way.
And a baby on the way.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh god, for me, if my husband's watching this right now, which I'm sure he is, with our 3 children at home, he's like sick of hearing what I want because I have such a big vision for Face and Soul, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what that means and where that's going. I could see where I want it to be in like 20 years, and I'm trying to take the first step. But I do see keeping Face and Soul Studios, my salon suite business as is, and then possibly opening up something similar to be able to open up more locations and it being more people that are trained by me, and you can expect the services that I give. And then also possibly a brow line, but the research I'm doing on that is wowzer. Let's talk back in like 2 to 3 years on that because that's how long it takes. So, but it's something that I'm working towards, and I think my vision is always just to keep growing. I get uncomfortable when I'm too comfortable. So when I'm too comfortable, it's time to keep doing something to figure out what's next. Yeah.
Just a request, please don't get rid of the eggplant arm. It's my one request. I think like a hyper locally, I would love to start a proactive foundation. That's something I've always wanted to do, and figure out a way to take a lot of what we do in the community and make it into a verified nonprofit foundation. That's something, vision board. But as a business, taking what we do and having it so you don't have to be in our facility here in the Conejo Valley. We have a patented product and we're working on an online platform. So that's something that I kind of am excited about, to kind of take our brand more global.
Yeah, and it's been really impressive. We talk about this, is your ability to partner with others. And I think that with your current location, you partnered with Herbalife, so that was an incredible partnership with them, but also in your work with California Strong, nonprofit, being able to like partner with the YMCA and these other brands, I think is really impressive. And I try to find the common themes because that's what is really interesting to me and why businesses are successful here. And a lot of it, and I'm curious to hear from everybody, but I think it's very, very community-based, and also that like ability to partner with other brands locally and not feel, you said this before, like it's going to cannibalize your business or one thing's going to take over. Is that accurate?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning California Strong. By the way, we have a boutique happening in Spring Soiree, April 11th. 15 small business vendors will be there. And some of them actually weren't able to open their stores because of the fires, so they're bringing their product to sell. It's at Calinas Ranch, so make sure to buy your ticket because it's going to be limited. Sorry, had to do a little plug there. Okay, all the proceeds go to those families that have been affected by the fires, just so you know. It's 100% for donation. I just think that there's a power of community. There's a power of small businesses. I've said this before a million times. Small businesses are the backbone of community. We are the people that get asked to sponsor the Little League. We are the people that, hey, donate this product, donate this. And if you can work collectively, I think there's a lot of power in that. And it doesn't have to be a monetary situation. It could be a like, it could be a comment, it could be a Yelp review, it could be a share, it could be a referral. There's so many ways that we can all help each other. And I really don't think it needs to be competitive, but more collaborative.
I love that, and which brings me to, it brings me to my next question. It's one of my favorites that I get to ask every guest is, what has been the most surprising or challenging part of running a business? And it's actually been very varied, the answers, but I decided to mix it up a little bit and ask the panelists to share their favorite meme about the topic, because there is really no better way to like express your frustrations or like some kind of common concern than through memes. So bear with me as we see if this works here. And just let you, see if you guys relate to this. Or actually, before we even do that, raise your hand of business owners in the audience. Woo! Nice, congratulations. Thank you all for being here. So you might relate relate to these as well. So, oh my God. That makes sense. This is how you're that feels like me. Yeah, I like this. That idea that like you're starting your own job or your own business, but you're going to be working less hours is crazy. Okay, and then we've got two video memes here. Let's see if these work. Okay, and last but not least, I don't know why this one just kills me. There's like so much about this one. Like, why was the guy dancing in the elevator like that? But also, kind of what we were talking about before, there's so many ways to like support a brand that don't have to actually mean even spending money, but sharing or liking or leaving a review can have such an impact. So, going back to the actual question though, what has maybe been the most surprising and or challenging or both of running your business? How long has 507 been open?
7 years.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. So I'd say what most surprising was because I mentioned I was born and raised in Thousand Oaks, I didn't realize how many people I didn't know. So for me, the most surprising was how many people from our community then became customers, then became friends, then became actually my family and chosen family, right? And so for me, I thought I would just see everyone that was already in my circle, and it was probably a good thing that wasn't the case, and I just met so many people.
Okay, my answer is a little different. I think the most surprising thing for us was COVID, for sure. We were not expecting, we had opened.
That was my challenging.
We had opened literally a year before they shut everything down. So we celebrated our first birthday, and then a couple days later, we had to close the restaurant. And so Antonia and I, weirdly enough, a couple of months before, we were talking, how do we up our to-go business? Because we did not do like any to-goes. We didn't have a to-go system at all. And so weirdly enough, we were talking about it before COVID hit, how we could do that. And then COVID hit, and we said, oh my gosh, we can only do takeout, but our menu is not even pivoted to a takeout menu. So we were kind of scrambling, freaking out what to do. So we said, you know what, let's close for 2 weeks. Let's figure out a to-go system. Everything's online. We didn't have anything. We couldn't order online at all. So we figured that out, how to do that. And then we changed the menu items so that it was actually to-go friendly. And then people just started coming. So that was definitely surprising for us. And then just to make it work after that, it felt really good. From this amazing community.
And kudos to all of you for surviving that time. I mean, that's a big, impressive, 5 years later, and you're still thriving, so it's amazing.
Still have PTSD. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember those days, like working outside. I did eyebrows and services. Me and one of the girls that works with me, Kirsten, we would pull out everything from inside to make it feel like outside. So, and then we would do people's eyebrows as eyelashes as our little canopies were trying to blow away, and bees were crawling on us because we were so sweaty, and it was 12 weeks.
Yeah.
We're gonna look back on those pictures. I think for me, like Amber, you said it so beautifully, like the community. When I first opened up Face and Soul in 2018, I didn't even live out here. I was living in the Valley, and I moved out here during COVID. And mainly the reason was I had my oldest daughter, and I had friends everywhere. I had friends on the West Side in Burbank, but I didn't have any friends that had kids that I could say, what dentist do you go to? Where do you bring your kid? Who's your kid's pediatrician? And it's like that community I built here. And so when Stevie turned 1, we were like, we're going to move out there, and then COVID happened. And so that was like another fun surprise, but we still ended up doing it. And so that was like such a good point, that this community is so beautiful, and I'm so proud to be part of it. And the people that I've had as clients that have turned into friends, that have turned into family, and that keep referring business to me, it's amazing. I would say like the challenge, would be like the paperwork, the taxes. I mean, they're trying to take my money every second I get. The sales taxes, we're dealing with taxes now. I mean, it's just a lot of, it's, people think you're going to make a lot of money when you're a business owner and you kind of spend a lot of money. So you're paying everybody.
I know, it was funny. I was just listening back to some of the advice from each guest for entrepreneurs, and it was Colin of Moody Rooster who was like, the taxes. And it was just so blatant, and all the paperwork and all the money of this. I'm like, oh God, okay. Yeah.
Those are also great things. Community is amazing. I would say for me, I'm a very type A planner personality, and it's very challenging in a business to be a planner because every day, every season is ever changing and evolving, and that's something that I've definitely had to adjust to. Is what works this week might not work next week, or what works with one staff member might not work with another staff member. And so I think that constant evolution of changing your product, changing yourself, how you work with people, my husband, depending if we're talking today or we're not, I don't know. So I think just the constantly evolving personally has been my biggest challenge or surprise of running a business.
I also don't know how all of you women work with your husband.
Well, I was just going to say, this is not a planned question, but we have husbands in the audience, but I am curious.
I need to know too.
What is the secret?
Delegation for us was really, really important, and advice that we had gotten from another couple that had owned a coffee shop out in Moncton, Utah. We reached out to them and we're like, help, we don't know what we're doing. And they were like, delegate. And so we said, okay, we'll delegate. And so we did. And then, of course, through the years and then COVID happened, it was extremely stressful on a marriage. But to overcome that has been just the greatest blessing as well.
Yeah. Honestly, in a restaurant, so much goes on. There's sometimes where Antonio and I would work all day long, and then we go up to each other at the end of the night and say, how was your day? Because we didn't talk to each other, obviously, because maybe I was in the front of the house, he was in the kitchen, just doing different things. And so that's kind of what's nice about a restaurant. But we also kind of try to have a rule that if something big didn't happen at work, we kind of just leave it at work, and we don't take it over to home, even though it's very, very hard, especially for my husband. But I think we've done a better job now that we also have a baby. We're kind of realizing, okay, not our whole entire life has to be just talking about work all the time. So.
And if you have not listened to their episode to hear about how they met, I mean, please go and listen to it. I have no idea what number episode it was, but the way that Gianna shares it and tells it is incredible. So please go and listen to that. Do you have a secret?
I don't have a secret, so if anyone has it. I think we're really lucky in the fact that we're two completely different roles in our business. So his strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. So I think that really helps. We definitely do have a rule of separation of church and state. When we're in the gym, we're not husband and wife. We really try and make sure that we're co-workers. And then, make sure pillow talk is not who owes a balance or who's coming in the next day, try it, but it's hard, it's our livelihood. It's how there's the roof over our head and the food on our table, and it's our world. And so it is easier said than done. But one thing that we learned years ago, we went to therapy, which I think is really important, especially for all the reasons. And our therapist taught us this line that says, I'm not available. And it's kind of like our code word. It's a hard stop. So if one of us says, I'm not available, it's a hard stop. You have to stop the conversation, and you know that person, put a pivot in it. I write it in my notes, he writes it down, and it is a hard stop, safe word, I'm not available. So that's our trick.
That's a good tool, a takeaway tool for a lot of things. Set that boundary.
It works not just at work, by the way.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of things that works at work.
Right, that's a do not disturb side.
Hey, we gotta go to dinner, but hey, I'm not available.
Right, exactly. Right, that's good. I love that. Okay, so whoever wants to take this one, but how do you define success?
Everyone, you're looking at me.
Yeah.
I would define success as, let's say that your business runs at 90% when you're not there. I would say that that is success, because you need to have a work-life balance. And I'm like speaking to myself a couple of years ago because I did not have a work-life balance. But now that I've been in it and I realize, okay, this is not good for me mentally, physically, I need to have a work-life balance. You need to kind of find really good employees and train them so they kind of have your dream as well, and they understand your business model, and that if they're running your restaurant or your business at 90% when you're not there, that's success to me.
Excellent, like percentage too.
I love it. I would jumping onto that, I would say success for me is growth for my team. We are successful because of the people that we work with and who work with us. And so they're all getting married and having babies and kids. And so each year, if we're able to grow them, like that's kind of where I define our success, is being able to grow our team for their families as well.
And I would like to pivot on that because that's how I feel like I've grown Face and Soul, is with the girls that I get to work with on a daily basis and watching them grow and them grow clientele, and everything that we've been through together. And I can look back and I can say, okay, like this was just such a little seed, and it's cool when you actually, especially a person like me that doesn't sit still very often and like reflect and be, if the word is proud of myself or how much I've built, it's easier for me to keep like going. And so when I sit and I'm like, okay, I have such a good group of people that I get to work with on a daily basis. And I have such a good community that comes in here, and I am proud of this. And I think that's like being able to sit there and say, I'm proud of this is success to me.
Yeah, yes to all of these. And then I just wanted to mention, none of you mentioned wealth or possessions. And I think that just rings so true to what our versions of success are. And I think for me, just having a peaceful heart is because I've seen what I haven't. And so now seeing the growth of that is my version of success.
And I think we all agree in the green. That's really nice.
Yeah,
Like be in the green, not in the red.
Oh,
You know, we could be
I'm
real
not a
honest.
business owner, so I don't know the terminology. But
Oh,
you're right. Yes,
right.
always in the
Green.
green. Yes, exactly. They need to be on the up and up. But that is awesome, and I do. I can tell. I feel like I don't know if it was a meditation or what's going on. You all do seem very relaxed and chill and in your peace right now.
calm drink.
Yeah, the calm drink. Yeah, you haven't even had that, so it'll be after. Amazing. Well, I wanted to turn it over to the guest here and ask you guys some questions that came in through Instagram, but also if anybody in the audience has a question, we've got a mic up here, you can ask a question, but I'm going to tackle these two that were sent in via Instagram. So the first one is, and this kind of speaks to what we were just talking about, like, have you felt imposter syndrome and how did you overcome it? Brittany, you were shaking your head.
I'm like, yes. I still feel that. I mean, I walked in here today and I was like, how am I here? It's hard. I mean, I am very proud of myself, and I do see more for Face and Soul, but there's like this humble inside of me that's like, and I don't know, maybe it's my childhood or I don't know, but it's like, I feel like half the time, like, what am I doing? Like, do I know how to run a business? And I mean, the taxes are done, the bills are paid, so I must be doing something right? But yeah, I mean, I feel like we all have a little bit of that, but because we're human, right? Like, we all have that little part that's like, try a little bit of self-doubt, but I think, as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, like, you could do it.
It's not a unique feeling. And that like everybody likely, yeah.
I hope not. I mean, we're all
Whether you're running
human,
a
right?
business or you're just trying to live life, it always kind of feels a little bit like, am I doing this thing right?
Yes.
Does anybody else want to share?
I mean, I said this to my manager as I was walking outside the shop today, and I was like, these women I'm gonna be doing this with are so amazing. And then she was like, Amber, you're fantastic. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, I think that's an imposter. I was like, no, I know what it's called. But the way I overcome that is I'll let you know, because I think it's still something that I'm like, yeah, at the beginning.
Great, thank you. Okay, second question. What have you done in your business to further progress for women as a whole?
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I would say in the kitchen, it is just very male dominated anywhere that you go. And I think probably we've only had 5 women employees in the kitchen that they're my only people that applied, honestly. And I always do my best to always hire them because, first of all, women are amazing. But especially in the kitchen, neat, organized, clean. They'll always show up to work. So whenever I see a girl that comes in the restaurant for a kitchen job, I'm like, yes, please, let me train her, let me mold her into who she needs to be. And it's really rare, honestly. Most of the time, if you look at a kitchen, it's mostly men. So I would say that.
All I can say is that there's 6 women that are at Face and Soul, and they are all amazing, truly amazing women that I've been able to watch their businesses grow over the last 6 years, and everyone is thriving in their business, and it's been amazing to watch the clientele grow over the years that is also 99% women. I also have a small don't talk to me about my online store right now. But I do have a retail space, and everything that I sell in my retail space is non-toxic, women-owned, and California-based products. So that's something that I love to do for women and represent, you know.
For the first 10 years, I was the only female on the team, and very dirty men. So we've added more females to our team, which is really exciting. But for our services to, everyone knows about like pro male athletes and whatnot. And as a former, female athlete, I think it's been really cool that the opportunities that we provide the men and their teams and their sponsors. We're now doing that with females and females in sports. If you're following along, it's like a massive growth happening right now. And like the NCAA tournament this year, like the sponsorship dollars are like 20 times what they were 2 years ago. So it's like so exciting. And so to kind of be a part of that, on the training and testing and nutritional side, it's been kind of, we had 3 legends in the last 3 weeks of our business, so it's just like super exciting to see the female population grow.
Yeah, do you want to share anything?
I feel like, I'm not the first woman business owner in our area, and I'm not the first coffee shop woman business owner in our area, but so I don't feel like I've paved the way, but I definitely feel like I've helped with the maintenance along the way. I'm very stubborn, which is a really good thing. Obviously it has its trials as well, but I feel like because of me being stubborn and me saying this is how it's gonna go, and maybe it's just called boundaries, but it's allowed my staff and our managers to be majority women and women in charge, and it's okay. Yeah, and so just equipping them with the tools has been really sweet.
Awesome. Anybody in the audience have a question you want to ask to these amazing panelists? Yes, here, let me get your mic. Let's see if we can pass this. Introduce yourself, and if you own a business, shout it out, and then ask your question.
I'm Tiffany, and I do branding and freelance graphic design for women in business. And so thank you so much for everyone showing up. And you've definitely all paved the way just by being here and continuing to run your businesses because it's not easy. And my question is, for anyone that is feeling that entrepreneur bug or women that are in their first 5 years of business, what advice would you give them?
Thank you.
I mean, my advice would, if you have a vision, like just do it. I know it sounds so like scary to jump off of I call it jumping off of a cliff. But I did it with $2,500 and it grew, and I was so far I've been completely self-funded. And so I've been able, and that's all from just savings and putting the work in. And so I always tell people, like for me, I couldn't have not done this. Like I look back and it would have been something that was just like a bee in my ear, you know? So I say if it's something that you want to do, definitely do it. If you see the vision, go for it. Easier said than done. So talk, you know, to a coach or people that, like us that could sit you down and like walk you through step by step. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I still to this day, I was just telling my husband that a couple days ago, I look up to a business owner that's doing something in the way that I would like to. And she's huge. She has insane amount of locations. I've lost track. I think she's opened 12 this year. Her growth is insane. And I wrote her on Instagram and I was like, I think twice so far, and I'll continue to bug her, but I'm like, do you offer any consulting, any, just like you never know who's gonna say yes, like, or give you free advice. So don't be afraid if you look up to people, even on Instagram, like reach out to people, like ask them questions about their business and how they got to where they are. And especially if it's a business that you're trying to do. So that would be my advice is don't be afraid to pick people's brain, even if it's through a DM.
I would say make sure that you have a business plan and you stick to your true self. Don't let anyone persuade you into doing something that you don't want to do for your business. Stick to who you are, and because people love authenticity.
Hi, Tiffany. I would say just make sure you are good with yourself because you're going to be pouring a lot into other people and making sure that you are centered and however that is for you.
I would say give yourself patience and grace. You're not going to have it figured out right away. I am still figuring things out all the time, so just give yourself that grace and patience. And like we've kind of already talked about, the power of community. Network, connect, meet with people. Because the worst thing that you can hear is the word no. And that's just organically building your business is through the community. Exciting?
Yeah.
So I'm Sophie, and it's my business partner, Hallie. We just bought Fit for Mom House. I think the thing that we're both really struggling is as women, we have so many kind of boxes we have to fill for ourselves, for other people. And so Hallie has 2 littles, and then 4 weeks before we bought the business, I had a second baby, and we were like, do you want to buy a business? And we're like, yeah. So I think what we're struggling with is like we're so excited, but we have so many cups that we were already filling, whether it's like kids, husband, family in the area, things like that. So do you have any advice for whether it's delegating to family or like, I guess, how do you organize your mind to fill those cups but make sure you're not leaving nothing for yourself?
I'd like to know this too.
I still struggle with this. When I actually signed, I have been trying to get pregnant with my first for over a year, and I decided to, okay, I'm going to open up Face and Soul, and I signed a lease 2 weeks after finding out I was pregnant with my first. And so it was like I was having 2 babies at one time, and then I had twins. So then I actually had 2 babies at one time. So now I have 3 kids, and I definitely know this to my core. I would, before I had kids, I would not know the word no. I would say yes, yes, yes. I would work late. I would stay there all the time. I would take any client who wanted to come in anytime. I had no boundaries. And so having kids really put boundaries on me. I am still learning this 6 years in, and I actually, a really good book that you guys should read is by Dan Martell. It's called Buying Back Your Time. And I find it to be, I'm not even done with it, but it teaches you how to delegate, what you need to delegate. I've really started focusing on the things that mean something to me, and I take on those roles. I'm trying to hire someone right now to take more of my overflow with clients, because that's what feeds me, but also straps me down the most. So that book I would highly recommend to find your guys' way. But congratulations.
Yeah.
I heard the rumors about the new owners, and I'm happy to meet you guys. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be chaos, but like you just have boundaries. Like try to figure out what your boundaries are. It's new, it's exciting, but like Your family is obviously, your kids are very important. So just find a way to either like work them in to the mix and have them involved. Like I have my kids come to the studio, like Stevie, my oldest, loves to sit at the front desk and pretend to check people out. And so like involve them in that. But also like I have a very, like on Monday and Wednesdays I'm done at 3 because I go pick up my little at 3:30. And like that's important to me to be able to pick up my kids from school. And Tuesdays and Fridays I take Stevie to school every day. Like it's like things that are non-negotiables for me. So you'll figure it out. But congratulations.
Congratulations. I love Fit for Mom. I used to do it, so very exciting. I would say kind of like tapping into what you're doing. You can create your own schedule. It's your business. So create the schedule that works for you and your family, and it's a phase. It might work that way for a couple weeks or months, and then it's going to be a new phase that you have to go into. I didn't have the ability with family help or like financial help, to be able to hire someone when I first had my child at Proactive, and he just became adaptable. He became a part of it. He's part of the crew, part of the family, and same when we had my daughter. So put it as a schedule. Type A over here, like I put my work time on a schedule, I put my me time on a schedule. Like, hey, I'm gonna go get that facial, or I'm gonna go take a class. It's scheduled, and then you work with your partners to be like, hey, this is my time. So I think, as for me, again, type A, the schedule was the most important, because where I struggle, where I start like dog paddling, is when I feel like everything's all over the place. But the structure, so it is a job, it is a business. Even though I'm a mom and running around and doing things and wear a lot of hats, if I have a structure and a schedule, it like keeps all of us fluid and on the flow. But you got this. So exciting.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, even if it's for your kids, like if you need some time, like that was something that I learned real fast. So, and if you ever want to talk more, I'm here.
My kids are too old, but I heard Miss Rachel's great.
Anything else you all want to add? We have time for one more question too, but if you want to add
I was going to add something very short. I'm only a year into having a baby, but I would bring him all the time to the restaurant with me. Now that he's running around, he's not there all 24/7, but he was. I would have him in a carrier with me, and the customers love it. And I know that when you're first starting your business, that might be a little bit harder, but at the same time, I've had customers that gone up to me and said, "Oh, Paolo, here you are, and you're Gianna, right?" What? So people do love family environment, having kids around. That's what I've learned so far with that.
I love that. Amazing. We have time for one last question. Yes, over here. Let's see. Thank you. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Anne Claire Lush. I have, my husband and I have a cottage bakery. We run out of our house in Newbury Park. It's called Billy Bread. He is the name, but we are equal parts, as a lot of people will know. I'm not the face of it, but it definitely runs because I'm part of it. So I guess my question is business plan. And no, we didn't go to school where we were, put to the task of building a business plan. But the question is more about like following your business plan, knowing when it's working, knowing when it's the right time to grow, trusting that within yourself. Like, when did you know it was the right time to open the second one? When did and when do you look at your business plan and you're like, okay, we're not going to do 20 stores, like 2 is good, or maybe, so like how have you navigated the different ideas of your business plans? And
Yeah, and I have seen you guys on Instagram before. I love a loaf of bread, so I gotta check it out.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think before, I mentioned that when COVID hit, we stopped going to midnight. And then what I didn't mention was after COVID, we went to 5 o'clock and never went back to midnight because it just wasn't sustainable. You have this great business plan and it maybe works for a time and then it doesn't work. And then I think you just need to be honest with yourself and with your business. And if you see that something's not working or too many people are communicating the same issue, listen to them a little bit, but not too much. Like, to be honest, like you need to stay true to yourself, right? And so, but for us, like when we decided to go not do 20 stores and just do 2, it was because it just wasn't sustainable for not only our business, but it wasn't sustainable for our marriage, and that was most important for us.
I mean, I can put a different spin on it. It kind of depends on where you want your business to go next step. I never had a business plan. So I went into it because I was self-funded and didn't have investors, didn't have anything. It was just one step. And then every time I felt like I needed the next growing pain, it was like, I was renting out a tiny little room in a salon, just doing esthetician services. And then I was like, what's the next step? And then I found the next location and I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring on, it's just gonna be me and 2 other girls. And then from there, I was like, wait, I'm gonna have a baby. I'm gonna bring in someone to help me take my clients while I'm on maternity leave. And then I was like, I love you, you're never leaving me. And then COVID happened, I stopped doing facials. So I brought in a massage person. And then it just organically grew till we had 5 people in an 800 square foot with 1 treatment room. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time to go bigger. And then I was able to, because of my planning financially, I was able to grow the next step. But and again, luckily do it self-funded. And then, for my future goals, I do see myself getting into a business plan, but I think you can grow organically as your business is growing and just kind of go with it, unless you're you reach for the stars and you're like, I want to sell in year 1 or something. So, which, maybe you need a business plan and investors and stuff like that, which is, so it just depends on where you want to take your business.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say as well, is where you want to take it, because if you're thinking that you want to open a bakery, or if you're just wanting to, not just wanting, if you want to maybe do it at a farmer's market, because if you have a good product, you're going to know, because this town is a small community and there's word of mouth. And I would say that was our best form of marketing. No, you don't have to pay any money to put news flyers out in the community. Just if you have a good product, people are going to tell other people about it. So maybe sell your bread at a farmer's market and see the reaction that people have from it, and then you will know, okay, we have a good product, we should do something else. We should, whatever you're wanting to do, we should start making a plan for that.
I would say too, listen to your gut. Our 2 moves that we did, we're in our 3rd location now, they were totally gut based. I mean, that's not the smartest answer, because it literally got to, we signed a lease with $500 left in our bank account, but it worked out. It was the gut, right? I guess with females, I feel like, first of all, kudos to you. I know what it's like being the behind person of the business that's making it go when your husband is the face. We won an Emmy and his name is on it, but it was my writing. It's a very sore subject. So I get that more than anybody. So kudos to you, because it's incredible. But listen to your gut and your gumption. But yeah, kind of figure out what is that next step. And totally agree. We've never done a dime of marketing in this community. Everything has been word of mouth. So send me your handle and your brand, and I will tell everybody about it. That's what you do. We all help each other out. So it's exciting to be on the next step.
Thank you.
Well, this has been incredible. Speaking of community and supporting each other, I am so grateful for everyone that's attended and for you all as panelists for being here. Celebration of Women's History Month, celebration of the incredible women in this community. Thank you for inviting me into this. And I will say, as I don't own a business, but sending off that DM, finding friends who know friends, such an important part of this. And I will say a lot of the relationships I was able to build and people who have been able to have on the podcast are through that. So I think that is a great advice if you just want to get started and be able to tap into the people here who are really proud of this area and want to support others. So thank you all so much for being here. We still have time left for a craft, and this is being led by Jenna Davis, who I mentioned at the beginning. She has an event styling company. She runs DIY craft workshops. She is a kindred spirit who, again, I met through a friend of a friend. And I hope you all will take her up on the offer to learn how to embroider your own little journal so you can write down your ideas. You can maybe get some phone numbers here, people you want to connect with. And yeah, we'll do that. I believe we've got Nudie Bowls is still serving some other delicious bowls. Jonah and Zyra in the back, thank you. And there's still some drinks out there. And I think, are you all welcome? You're going to stay for a little while. If anybody has questions or want to talk to you, please, this is part of, I don't like the term networking, but feel free to engage and have fun and meet each other. So thank you all.